Or at least that's a good excuse. And we're live here at this station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
I'm Treacherous Trista.
And we're joined by the returning, she's an actor, model, wrestling personality, mother of 10 in the true original Gata, Monique Dupree. It's very cool to have you back.
Hi, I'm happy to be back. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So let's see, a lot to talk about, but I know Shakespeare Shitstorm is it already played at festivals, but it's eventually coming out, I believe, very soon.
Yes, I believe so as well. And I think it's playing at another festival or somewhere this month in Philly. I saw in
yeah, I think in March you're doing
an email about it. Yeah, it's been making the rounds, and I only really knew because I don't really get to keep up like I want to, and that's like one of the projects I'm most proud of, actually. But I will get random messages where people are like, "Oh my God, I just saw you in Shakespeare Shitstorm, and I loved your character. First of all, I love that you were in a lot of the movie, because normally I do cameos, and that took some doing, like to do that movie and learning fight choreography, which is quite different from working in wrestling. And the Shakespeareing, I'm not my brother, so like that's not my thing at all. At all. But just everything that I had to do the prep and learn for that movie, I'm so proud of how it came out. Especially in, Lloyd Kaufman fashion.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I'm not just saying this because you're here. I thought you were excellent in the movie.
Huh?
I'm not just saying this because you're here. I thought you were excellent in the movie. And maybe, I don't know, we may have a little connection trouble
here. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Can you hear me?
So how did you get the role? How did it come? Yeah, I can hear you, but I think it's freezing up a little bit here and there.
Yeah, you froze for 1 second. And then
I have very high winds here, so I might have connection problems throughout the night.
Well, we'll rough through whatever we have to rough through. That's all good.
Yeah.
Actually, Lloyd offered me the role because it was originally set for a Black man with character. And I had talking to him about seeing if I wanted to do this movie, and he was just like, I have to let you know, this is not like your other roles where you just do a cameo. If you're going to do this, there's rehearsals, there's this, there's that. So you have to tell me if you can carve out the time, because I would really like for you to be a part of this. So things happened. I canceled, way too excited about, I didn't want this role. And at the time, Tommy Dreamer was supposed to be in it alongside me, and he was supposed to be one of the main characters, but his schedule was way too grueling to be able to come to all of the rehearsals and cancel like a lot of stuff that he had to cancel. So he ended up not being in the film at all. But I was able to stick it out, and it was, one of the most challenging times that I had, just because there was so much I had to learn. It was so dialogue heavy, as you saw the movie. And again, I've been a main character in quite a few movies, half of which haven't come out yet, but it still wasn't as dialogue heavy as Shakespeare Shitstorm was for me. So it was really a blessing. I know people laugh when they hear the title and they go, it's a silly movie, but it's, Lloyd is a brilliant mind, in my humble opinion. And I always love how he puts the films together, how it's always something to think about in the midst of all the craziness and the silliness, that there's a real meat of things there. And I was just really blessed to be a part of this project. I really hope that he calls for something else, like I would drop everything.
Yeah. But your character especially, I thought was your character is more serious in the movie than most of the movie. Plus, like you said,
yeah,
most Troma movies on the surface, there's a lot of poop jokes and stuff like that, but there's a lot of social commentary underneath all that.
Absolutely. And yeah, my character was more of like the straight guy, if you will, as opposed to like the really silly, goofy, I was a no nonsense, take no shit out. I'll punch your face, type of character. I loved it. I just loved that he saw in me to pull off that level of being tough, but also having a level of femininity, and to be able to, that character was kind of multi-layered, but it's because of her history, what she had been through. And even in the silly fashion, you got to see all of those things. Like I said, I was just really humbled that he thought of me for that, and that it all worked out where I was able to do it. And I sing Lloyd Kaufman's praises anytime I can, just because I've always admired him. So to be able to continue to work in Troma is like people saying that they love working in Marvel. For me, this is my Marvel.
How long had you known Lloyd? Where did you know him originally?
I met him. Funny thing, I mean, I'd already known about him, but I met him doing a Scream Queen contest for Fangoria Radio when Debbie Rochon and Dee Snider did Fangoria Radio.
They were doing the radio.
Way back when. Mm-hmm. That's when I met him, because there was a Scream Queen contest, and I was just like, I kind of want to try this out. And my husband was like, you were made for this. You need to do this. You can win this. And then I lost that. I completely lost. But that's when I got job offers from Lloyd, and then Debbie Rochon co-signed me. It was like Lloyd and Debbie started my career in indie filmmaking that night. And so even though I lost, I won so much more. I had, the goddess of Scream Queendom, Debbie, basically backing me, like, give this woman an opportunity. I see talent in her. And, Lloyd was Lloyd and was just like, hey, let's do it. And, I got to, because of them, they opened up the doors for me to be able to do a lot more independent films, because I was just doing a lot of extra work in big budget films. And I was making money and I was starting to make a name for myself, but I've always had a love for independent everything, actually, filmmaking, wrestling, all of those things. So they gave me my start. So I met him years ago doing that. It was 2000. Geez, I don't even remember, but it was early when I did that.
And you stayed in contact with Debbie Rochon since?
Well, since the movie, you mean? Because we had a lot of scenes together, and it was just so. I've worked with Debbie Rochon many a times, and it's always a pleasure. I love to watch her work. I always learn from her. Even when we don't get to see each other, the beautiful World Wide Webs will keep us together in ways of, being able to talk and to support one another, which I always think so important. And I always say to people, because I do a lot of promotion.
By the way, going on. You froze up for a second on me. Sorry if I talked.
Very important that you continue. It's okay. You just froze up for 1 second too. Are you?
Yeah, I think it probably happened on and off all show, but yeah.
Well, yeah, just stop me, because I can ramble on, and I don't even know where it froze at.
Yeah, no problem. It's all good. Marcia Miller in the chat, she says, "I love your hair. It's so beautiful."
Thank you. True story. My 8-year-old, well, she's 9 now, but my 8-year-old picked out the colors for my hair. And when we rotate the colors, she'll pick out new colors. And asked me to braid them in. And so my baby picks out my colors for she's my hairstylist.
Well, she did a very good job. Yeah. You talked about promoting, and I think the first time we had you on was 2007 or 2008, somewhere around there. And I've noticed over the years you really are out there self-promoting. So is that something you just knew you had to do when you started to do independent films and independent wrestling?
Well, I've always had to promote myself because I never quite fit in anyone's category. I mean, that's just been throughout my life, period. I'd never fit in a category. When I used to try to do runway modeling, my breasts were too big at the time, even though I was much smaller then, or I wasn't quite tall enough, or I was either not dark enough or too dark, because there's so many different variables when you're dealing with facets of entertainment, and which will tear you down if you're not mentally and emotionally strong enough as well. And it just got to a point where I said, well, if I'm going to get anywhere, I have to be my biggest cheerleader. And aside from my husband, who's actually my biggest cheerleader, I had to start promoting myself, putting myself out there. I would look up things in the paper when, there was paper, when you look in the newspaper and actually see things. I'd always done things like that. I always had little tricks that I would use to promote myself for free, because then I had no money as well. And you just learn how to be creative. I'm a creative person, so why not use your creativity to put yourself out there? So I used to go to conventions before I even had an independent film under my belt. I had all the extra work that I had done, and I would go to these conventions and I would tell people, yes, I'm a scream queen. What made me scream queen? Because I said I was. That is absolutely what made. I had the wherewithal. I wanted to do it. I wanted to really, submerge myself in it. And then I got in my first indie role with Darkstone Entertainment, John Johnson. And even though that film has not come out yet, that was the first film and I starred in it too. And it's called Aurea. It's from the Shadowhunters series. If you follow John's stuff at all, he has a whole Shadowhunters series. And that was Aurea. And I was, like I said, I was Aurea. And I filmed that in I think 2005 or 2006. And that's when I really got my start, because people started to notice that I was doing things. And then John started putting in all of his stuff. And I became a mainstay for Darkstone Entertainment, just like being a mainstay for Troma Films. And that was kind of how I started to build myself. But also you promote other people who are promoting you. So I went through always promoting Darkstone because he believed in me enough to put me out there and to put me in his projects. And I could have been crappy, but we have a chemistry. And the next thing I know, I've done maybe 20 films with Darkstone Entertainment, one of my other favorite film families.
Yeah. It was when you talked earlier about not being the right, I guess, shade, either too dark, too light. That's, obviously not something, I know much about. I know there's a Spike Lee movie actually about that. But, I think a lot of times people think race, you're just a black person, but can you talk about that? You talked a little bit about it, but the idea that you have to be a certain, not even just black or white, but a certain shade.
Yeah, I was going to say it supersedes race, especially, in my situation, depending upon what it is that we're talking about, whether it be modeling or whether it was when you're entering into the entertainment business, and especially working as a scream queen. I know most people would notice that there was never a lot of Black women in horror, just mainstays. And so when I first entered the world of doing independent filmmaking, especially with horror, it was so hard for me to get noticed in any capacity because I didn't have the look. And the look was mostly, you know, blonde and thin, and, you know, so I can't change my my race, obviously, but it I had to wait for other people to show that it was okay to hire me and to hire outside of the box. But that was a huge struggle in and of itself. I left modeling because of the whole, you know, where I was trying to go. They would push cocaine on you. Well, maybe you want to do some cocaine, you know, you can be smaller. That was a whole thing I never knew actually existed. I was so naive with so many different things. And, you know, if you want to do this, you're going to have to like get your breasts reduced, or you just all kinds of, just one person before I interviewed, it was telling me how my ears were unaligned. That was when they looked for perfection. Nowadays, things are a lot more open because, you know, people are becoming more accepting, or they're showing more accepting things. They're showing people who are amputees. They're showing that vitiligo could be beautiful, like just all of these different things, because they're showing that people are people. Not everybody looks the same and are built the same. We're just all individuals. And I love that we are celebrating individuality more nowadays than we ever have. So it's a great time to be, to me, to be alive and to be seeing this. But there's still so many things we have to do to push past. I am not a fan of Black History Month. I celebrate Black history all the time, mostly because I'm Black. But also, you know, I feel like everybody should be celebrated. So I don't pick a time to celebrate anybody of any ethnicity, or, you know, I celebrate people because I love people, period. So I don't really do the Black History Month thing, so to speak. I don't. But yeah, it was hard in the beginning. I mean, it's hard now. I almost feel like I'm starting all over again. And when they do like Women in Horror Month and stuff like that, most times I don't even get acknowledged, which I don't look for that. But that's the question that a lot of my fan base will ask me. Well, how come, you know, you're not at this convention for Women in Horror Month, or how come you're not doing this? And like, you're asking the wrong person. I just hadn't been asked in order to, you know, to do things. So I don't, you know, I never complain about it. What you do is you move forward with what you can do, and you focus on your creativity and you focus on your talent. I don't like to focus on negative things. I like to focus on the positivity.
Something you just said there is kind of as a theme in Shakespeare Shitstorm, is because like they have there's like white characters telling your character actually what's racist or not, and yes. You're like, oh no, it's actually not, you know, a big deal to me.
Yeah. I did when I read the script, I was just kind of like, wow, this is some of the it rings true. It really does. I mean, of course, in the movie, it's over exaggerated because right. That's what we do in Troma films. But it rings so true. The other thing that I love that was a running joke that at first they were going to go and change, and I said, no, don't change it, is they kept calling me a guy, a man, right. Because the role was supposed to be for a man. But the reason why at first, when they noticed that people kept saying it, they were going to go back and redo it. I said no. And the reason why I said that is because I get accused of being a man more often than not. although I have no idea how I gave birth to so
yeah,
many
introduce you,
kids
mother,
out
mother
of
of 10, but
my
yeah.
male genitalia.
Mhm.
But it's so ridiculous. It's not even funny. It's because I've been told that it's because I don't have a Black woman's hips. I've been told it's because my voice is too deep. I've been told so many different things. So this goes into the vein of people expect a certain thing or expect you to be a certain way. And I have no idea. I said, I had no idea that every Black woman in the world had like a certain type of hip. Had no clue. And I've been Black all my life, but apparently this is a thing. So I'm apparently a guy. And I get it. So you would be so surprised at how many times people are like, that's a dude. And I'm like, oh my, okay. So I wanted them to leave that in because I get so much in real life that I thought it was funny to kind of have it mocked.
I noticed they even had the Caliban only bathroom that you came out of in one of the scenes.
You know.
Uh-oh. You still with us?
Back to yep. Yes. Again, there was a lot of. Did I freeze?
Yeah, a little bit,
Can
but
you
I think
see
we
me?
can hear you. We can hear you. We can see a frozen figure of you.
Oh. Do not.
Sorry.
Weird. Out of this.
Well, thanks
Can you
everyone.
hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh.
Hopefully this works.
Okay.
If not, we'll do it again.
Okay. I'm here. I'm back.
All right. Trista, I don't want to take all the questions. You have a question?
Sure. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Oh, okay. I'm wondering, besides the art of self-promotion, do you have any other tips for aspiring scream queens?
Be diligent. You have to have a mentality that the business period, because it's really hard. And can you hear me okay?
Yeah. It's on and off.
No, it a phone call and I declined it. That's why that just happened. But yeah, you have to be, this business is hard. And if you don't have a tough exterior, if you can't take criticism, and I don't even mean necessarily constructive criticism all the time. People will criticize you. I mean, look at celebrities and look at how everybody has an opinion about their lives, you know, what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. You know, I feel like it's this bad on a lower level because it's so intimate. You know, people have more access to you than, you know, people that are like a high level celebrity. And sometimes it will depress you. You have to be able to forward no matter what, and kind of put the emotional blinders on when you're trying to move forward. You also have to understand your own comfortabilities with things, because people will ask you or try to not so gently nudge you into doing things that you are comfortable doing, going, well, okay, that is that person. If your ideals are different, and you just don't be made to be forced into doing something that you're going to regret later because someone told you some other big name did it before, and look at them now. You know, we're not all built the same. So you have to know where your lines are and what you're not willing to cross no matter what. That's something that I encountered early on, and something that I also encountered having a celebrity at some point in time. offer to put me on something pretty big if I, gave him a blowjob. And needless to say, I never worked with this person. And I just said no. I mean, I didn't go Me Too thing or anything like that. I just, I said no. I guess I'll just be over here in my corner not making money because this is not what I'm willing to do. If it's what somebody is willing to do and that's them, that's their comfortability. But I don't have to do it because he said somebody else did it. Okay, they did that and that's cool. But you also have to be okay with yourself and your own decisions. For a while, I actually was like, damn, I'm not getting any work. I wonder if I was blacklisted. I wonder if, you go through all of these things, but I stayed steadfast and believe in my decision. So just make sure you keep your head about yourself. You know what I'm saying? Especially for women, it gets so hard in this business. And if you don't talk to people, sometimes we're not close enough with one another because we feel like we're a competition. So we won't help one another. But that's why I always tell people, you can come, ask me anything. If I can answer it, I will. I didn't have that, with the exception of when I was able to start talking to Debbie Rochon. I could go to her and ask her anything, and she would always end up, absolutely or no, or the advice that I'm kind of given now is a lot of the stuff that she told me as well. So I was blessed to have, Debbie at some point in time to guide me, which is why I try to pay it forward.
Gloomy Sunday Productions in the chat wants to know what draws Monique to a role or project.
It depends. If it's something that I've never done before, something that's challenging, somebody that I've always wanted to work with sometimes will initially draw me, because I've done that before and then ended up just having, like, the whole experience was just great. So it just depends. It depends on what it is. Right now, I've been really drawn to comedy-based things. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to be able to be silly or, goofy. I've always loved comedy. I grew up loving, like, Lucille Ball and Carol Burnett and, people like that. So I've been looking for stuff like that in action as of lately, but it just depends. I have to, when someone sends me a character, if I don't really vibe with it that much after I ask a couple of questions, I just can't do it. In the beginning though, in the very beginning, I was just doing anything I could do because I was trying to get my name out there, and I thought it was the right thing to do, until I started realizing that I have to kind of be more selective with my energy. Where do I want to put my energy? So that's when I started really looking through stuff to see what it is that I wanted to do. I still haven't been able to play a serial killer yet. Usually I have played a mass murderer or like a monster that goes around killing, but I'm talking about like a Hannibal type, kind of cerebral, type of person. So even though he's not a serial, I don't know what he is. He's just a killer. But something of that sort, that's kind of mental, I would love to play as well.
Well, if any independent filmmakers out there watching and they need a serial killer, we've got one right here.
And I'm always willing to train. It's one of the things that I do. I've actually gained weight for a short film before. And of course, I've lost weight for a film. I like to, if you envision something or, the character a certain way and I can pull it off. I mean, I am 47. So when I'm gaining weight, it's a little bit harder to lose that weight, especially since I don't have like chefs and cooks and all, I do all of this myself, by myself. So it gets a little bit harder, but it's still something that I'm very much willing to do. I just want to portray a character the way she should be portrayed.
You look great, by the way. Not that 47's old. I turned 46 this Saturday, but you look great.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that because it's been a rough couple of days. So I was like, oh, I have the rough face, but that's all right. I'm going to do this anyway.
So when did the wrestling come about? Were you always a wrestling fan?
Yes. Since I'm 9 years old, I've been a wrestling fan. And my daughter always wanted to be a wrestler, my oldest daughter. And we started going to shows together. Back when Impact was TNA, we would go to TNA house shows, and we would go to WWE's house shows because they were always cheaper than the televised shows, but also you can meet people there, like they did the meet and greet. So we started going and doing the meet and greets, and we started becoming known as the resident troublemakers because all of the guys would come and flirt with us, and we were just so naive. It was like, hey, this is so cute. And then, go back home or whatever. So we started doing WrestleManias. So one year in ATL, I think it was 2011, we did a bagels, like a brunch type of thing. And Bruno Sammartino was the guest speaker.
Oh, wow.
And that's when we met Lita, Christy Hemme. We had met her plenty of times, but we had met Lita for the first time, Bruno Sammartino, and Tommy Dreamer. And in befriending Tommy, he had like this awesome personality, and we connected with him, and I connected with him as friends, and we started talking on Twitter. And he was just like, hey, I'm putting together my own promotion. I mean, I had been he had invited me to shows. Don West used to invite me to like a lot of the TNA shows. 10. And then Dream started,
Gem Mint 10. He used to sell the baseball cards and would always yell, Gem Mint 10. Yeah,
absolutely. Don West could sell anything, actually. But then Dreamer started inviting us to the shows, and then he started inviting me to like Impact Wrestling TNA shows. And then he finally told me, hey, I'm getting ready to come out with my own promotion, and I would love if you and your family would come to the first show and see what you think about it. I was pregnant at the time with my 10th child. So I went, my husband and Monet, and that's when he introduced us to Edge and everybody. And so he was like, well, what do you think? So I gave him my thoughts and what I thought about everything. And by the second show, he was like, well, hey, I know you always wanted to be a part of this. Would you like to work the show? And I was like, would I like to what? And he was like, go out as a valet with one of my guys. So by the second show in Poughkeepsie in 2013, I went out there, and my first time out there was with Sandman, Blue Meanie, and Gui. And if anybody is a wrestling fan, you know that those are teams, okay? I felt a rush and I was, dude, I love this. And I need this in my life. And he was like, I have to train you, you have to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look, man, so 2013 was the start of my career. By 2014, I was coming out with my daughter, and we became the Double Duprees, which is a name that Dreamer gave us. By 2015, I was helping him with producing the shows, working behind the scenes, and working in front of the camera, and working with the talent. And then it just went on from there. And I've done most every job you can do, from working. I would work, the front will call and taking tickets. And then I would run out and I would make sure all the wrestlers were okay. And then I run out and find out what my spot was going to be. And when I went up, and I was doing everything. Everybody saw me as like the crazy lady that ran around, especially the shows in Philly, which, that's the heart and soul of ECW, where that was hosted all the time. So that was my start, was Tommy Dreamer. And I mean, to this day, we're really good friends, and we just, I don't know, we meshed really well together and I'm since COVID took out House of Hardcore. I mean, we haven't done a show since COVID really hit.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping and praying that my boss will bring House of Hardcore back, because I miss it terribly. But yeah, that was kind of how I got my start. It was a whole fluke, but who knew that it was something? It was a dream of mine, but I didn't know that I would actually be able to fulfill it. And then Impact used me a couple of times where I went out with foods. I did spots before and some spots with Madison. Just know, I've been blessed, man. I love wrestling.
Trista, you have a question?
Do you have a favorite horror film?
One that's my favorite, or favorite that I've been in?
I mean, either one.
Well, my favorites fluctuate. And this is outside of, me being in a film. My favorites have always fluctuated, but what's stayed common has always been like The Fog and Christine. I love the odd things, like, a car being, possessed, like the car is the killer. And it's like, who does that? That was one of my favorites. Of course, Candyman later on. I mean, for obvious reasons, but it's amazing. It's an amazing film. It depends. From Dusk Till Dawn was added to one of my top lists because it blew my mind when first seeing it, that I thought it was just a movie about these two psychos who are just like killing everybody in their wake. And then like the last part of the movie, you jump into a vampire film. And it's like, it just blew my mind. Something like that hadn't been done. So that's like another favorite. Definitely like A Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. For me is always the first. I mean, there's trilogies and that are good, but for me, it's always the first installment of something that tells me, whether I love it or not. And Nightmare on Elm Street was also another amazing film. I'm losing the ones that I started developing later on, because these are my commonplaces, like the ones that I just love right off the bat. The Fog being one of my favorites. The original Fog being one of my favorites.
Yeah. Marcia Miller wants to know, who are some of your inspirations?
In life or in film? I'm sorry,
it's good to get I would assume she meant in film, but it would be good to get both.
Well, and it's not just horror films, but one of my biggest inspirations has always been Pam Grier, hands down. And I think I kind of wanted to be like her without knowing that I wanted to be like her, all of the exploitation films, kind of, Brian Housey. She's definitely been a constant inspiration. Debbie Rochon was an inspiration before I even got to do films. Definitely my girl, Jamie Lee Curtis. has been an inspiration and is more and more of an inspiration as time goes on. I have two more. Anthony Hopkins has been a huge inspiration to me. And when I got to, I don't know, when I got to meet him at this show, I think it was the Chainsaw Awards. I can't even remember what it was, a long time ago. And I'm just floored by, I don't know, there's just something about him. And I was just like, I want to be that when I grow up, like the embodiment of Anthony Hopkins. And Viola Davis is also another one of my my absolute favorite actresses, you know, out there right now. So I have quite a few, but I have a lot for various reasons. So I'll have an inspiration for this reason and one for that reason. But I didn't give the reasons, I just gave the names.
And Mike Stack loves your background. He actually says he loves all three backgrounds.
Oh, thank you. This is actually a backdrop in one of my rooms because I was doing a Valentine's Day shoot for my daughter who is expecting a baby any day now. And I had the balloons from her baby shower. So I just left everything here and sat in front of it.
Well, you said, House of Hardcore, hopefully will come back, but it was hasn't had a show since COVID. Are you working on anything currently film wise?
I was supposed to do a film called An American Masquerade that fell through because of COVID and, all of that stuff. And, wonders never cease. I got called back to do it. So I'm really blessed for that. I'm working on a couple of projects with Darkstone Entertainment. I just don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet. So just know I am working on a couple of films with them. I've been traveling for behind the scenes wrestling. Like I've been doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and I was supposed to be in New Orleans, but I'm not. Because my daughter is expecting at any point in time, and I'm kind of trying not to fly far away before March the 10th. But if I have to, I will. So right now I've just been doing a lot of behind the scenes wrestling, working with Tommy Dreamer with his podcast, the House of Hardcore podcast, because that's still going. Mm-hmm. And I do all of the promotion and work for that. But yes, I am starting to travel for film again. I was very afraid to. So I was getting offers. I mean, last year was probably 21. I filmed myself. I wrecked my own scenes for myself and set everything up. So obviously those were cameos, but there's some films that are starting to come out. And then I started working on films like last year and one earlier this year. So it's coming back, and I'm feeling a little more comfortable with actually going out now, especially since people are doing COVID testing and, all of that stuff. When we started first hitting this and I was doing films, people were going, well, everybody here is cool, so you don't have to worry about COVID. And I was like, I don't doubt that. It's just that cool doesn't mean you can't have COVID. And then I bring it back to my family, and I have 10 children. I had to be very, very careful. So I went through a lot of time where I wasn't traveling for work, but I'm going to be traveling in the next couple of months to do some work. But I'm really happy about An American Masquerade because I was supposed to do that before, and now it picked up again. And I think I shoot that in April. So I'm excited about that. I have other projects on the table that I haven't accepted or declined yet, that I'm kind of looking at to see what I want to do and when. I'm also trying to see how it could fit into wrestling, because I really am ready into wrestling on the front end of things. So I'm trying to figure all of that out, because before I had a home with House of Hardcore, but there's House of Hardcore right now. So it's like I'm without a home.
Trista, you have another question?
What would you say the best and worst parts of independent film are for you?
Well, the worst parts would be just, I would probably say the travel, it gets a little uncomfortable because, you know, of course there isn't, you know, enough money. And so sometimes it's just like, you know, guerrilla filmmaking is that guerrilla traveling, and that, you know, everything takes, you know, longer. You may have to a hotel suspect a little bit, but I feel like the best part is that it's independent as well, because without having money to just throw at things, oftentimes you have to rely on your creativity as a group. You know, the director, everyone who's in the rely heavily on your creativity and thinking outside the box in order to make your project look and feel the best that it can. So while doing an independent movie can be trying independent movie, because you have money to throw at things, you can go, oh, well, I can CGI this, or I can do this, that, or the other. But what happens when all you have is like blood, and you have to use somebody's acting ability, and you know, you just have to use things that you otherwise wouldn't use to try to make something look and sound as realistic as possible, you know, on a $20, you know, you got $20. Yeah. So I love that, because it forces us all to pull that creativity out. And I've seen people absolutely shine on a set of an indie film, and I love that. I thrive off of
that. I think people could just put you into Google and they'll find you, but where can people follow you if they want to see what you're up to?
Well, I will tell you, in the meantime, please do not follow my verified Instagram, as it was hacked 4 months ago. And I haven't been able to get it back yet. Instagram hasn't hit me back yet. And so at 50,000 followers and verified, I pretty much lost that page, but they're still trying to hack other people through that page. So do not go to that page. My actual Instagram now is Monique Dupree. So if you Google my name, you'll see the one Instagram first, but right now I'm not verified until I can figure out that mess. But I'm verified everywhere else, on Twitter, The Original Gata, and on Facebook, which I hit 1 million followers on Facebook, and I was floored. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
I got disconnected. I have very bad weather here. I think that's the problem.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, they can pretty much Google, but my Facebook is The True Original Gata, and I'm on my social media a lot. I interact a lot as much as I can. I can't always hit everybody's messages, but I do see, like, if you comment something on Facebook itself or on Instagram itself, I can see that. But as far as like when you're talking about DMs and stuff like that, there's so many of those that I don't get around to everything all the time. Yeah. But I love to interact and talk with people. So you can hit me up anytime.
Very cool. Well, it's very nice to talk to you again. And when we do this again next time, hopefully there won't be any freezing.
That's hey, listen, you have to deal with what you're given, and that's exactly what we did. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine.
Yeah, but we appreciate you coming back on. It's been very good, cool to catch up with you.
Thank you. I'm pleased to have been here. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. And Shakespeare Shitstorm is coming out next month, I believe. So be on the outlook for how you can see it.
Yeah, please do, and let me know your thoughts. I want to know.
Very good. All right, we'll see you soon, and thanks everyone for watching. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.